Hi, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph and I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're working on our series today, Progressive Rock Albums from the 1980s. This is day 6, December 6th. The band I chose for today is Fate's Warning and the album is Perfect Symmetry. So how this works is that I'm choosing one album per day from the progressive rock genre for the 1980s. So the album had to come out in the 1980s. It had to be some progressive element to it. I prefer it to be mostly progressive, but in some cases it hasn't been 100%. In fact, most cases it hasn't been. So how this works is that I'm picking one album per day, so 31 albums, 31 days for 31 bands. So no band will get a second album. They all just get one from this particular decade. So, and the other thing that people should probably know is that there are basically, it can be an album from a band that I know very well, but for some reason never listened to that particular album. Could be from a band that I've had a lot of listening to. I may even own a couple albums from them, but I haven't listened to that album. Could be a band I've heard of, and that's the case today, but I have never listened to anything, or I may have listened to something, but not a lot. And the fourth one, which is a band I have never heard of and have no listening to any of their stuff or the album. So having said all that, those are the qualifiers for this. So this album is considered a progressive metal album. There's certainly some metal elements here, quite a bit, but there's also a lot of progressive elements in these people's music, or these guys' music, which surprised me. I thought it would be more metal and a little bit of progressive rock elements, but it's actually probably the other way around. So anyways, I didn't know what to expect here. I listened to people talk about them and stuff like that. I didn't really listen too closely, but I thought, you know what? They're considered one of the better bands from the 1980s in the progressive metal element. So I thought, you know what? I got to give at least one metal band here a chance, right? So, as you know, I have said recently that I'm not sure that I'm much of a metal person anymore, because it was big. I was big on it early on, but my tastes have changed somewhat over the years. I didn't realize it until I started doing this show either. But this has kind of restored that a bit. Now I'm starting to think some of this metal stuff I should be listening to. That I got lots of it here that I bought and I just haven't played it yet. But now I think I probably will. So anyways, about this album. This album surprised me. The first half of the album I liked. I thought it was pretty good, not bad. But the second half of the album I really liked. Like, it just got so much better in the second half, and I thought, wow, I really like this. I put it on my list for buying as well, so that tells you a lot for me. So anyways, some of the basic things about this album that I picked up on. Vocalist is really, really solid. Really good singer. I mean, he can belt them out there, and the thing that impresses me about him is that he's at a very high range a lot of the album, and yet his voice never breaks. Like, there's never cracking or any kind of screeching part to his voice. It's very smooth but strong. Yeah, he's one of the main weapons on this album, if you prefer. The guitar player is very good. He's got some different ranges to him. I don't know if there's more than one. I'm thinking there might be more than one guitar player here, but I didn't look up any of the information about the band. The problem with looking up too much information and too much about the band and the album and that is that you start getting influenced, and when I'm listening for something the first time, I just want to hear it with my own hearing and not really have any kind of influences, positive or negative wise, just wanted to listen, right? So that's part of the reason why I don't do it. Plus, the other part of the reason is that those look back at a classic rock albums take a bit of time to set them up, because there's some written information and some listening information that I want to go through. Where this, if I did that with everyone here, I'd never get this series done. So that's the other reason. Okay, so it has 8 tracks on it. Pretty heavy album, I think. Like, lots of really good guitar riffing. There is some progressive elements. There's some violin, which surprised me in a couple of the tracks, and there's actually a couple of other ones. I think there's one other track that has a piano in it, which really surprised me. So, but anyways, there's a lot of little things in this that really make up this whole kind of bring this album together. There's a lot of little elements that add and make this strength in this album. It's not just a metal album, not just crunch forward and put out as much hard guitar soloing and drumming and all that stuff that you get with a lot of metal albums. This one has a lot of progressive elements. So anyways, I think I've said the generalities of the album. Maybe more will come to me as I go along. So there's the first track is Part of the Machine. It's called Part of the Machine. Right away, it was good right away. It had heavy guitars and drums right away. I liked the riffing on it. Is pretty catchy stuff. Solo was pretty good as well. The vocalist, though, was the one that caught me right off the bat. I thought this guy's very good. He has a dark range, but mostly he's a high range singer, like very high range, and he holds it together all the time. Now, I mean, of course, they could overdub this and fix this and repair it and stuff like that, and that may be the case here. I don't know. I haven't heard him live. I don't know nothing about them live, but for the album wise, he's very good. The solo was good as well. And I thought right off the bat, I was thinking heavy metal, and nothing had really changed at this point. I was still thinking that's more of a metal band, but not too bad. Second song, Through Different Eyes, really catchy kind of. It's a catchy track. Like, it's something that you get into right away. Like, it catches your attention. The vocals again are really good. I like the guitar quite a bit on this album, this particular song. Even though the riffs are good. I really like the riffs. And he does do that one shredding part. I'm not much of a shredder. Like, I don't really like too much shredding on the album. I thought, well, here we go. There's some shredding on this, so there'll probably be more of that. And still I'm thinking it's basically a metal album with maybe 1 or 2 progressive elements. So that's where I am at this point. But both tracks were good. Then we get the Static Axe, which is the third song on the album. The guitar is good again. Vocals again smooth and very strong. The riffs are good again. And the transition is very good from the guitar riffs and the solos, I think. It's just really, really solid. But again, we've gone through 3 tracks, and I'm still thinking this is basically a metal album with a little bit of progressive elements to it. That's what I was thinking. Get to the 4th track now, A World Apart. Another really tasteful guitar solo here, one of the best I've heard so far at this point. I'm thinking this is the best solo on the album. Some more kind of subdued opening here, which was the first one that they kind of had on the album. It's a little bit subdued. Guitars are cranking, but then the guitars are cranking and they're beefy as hell. The drums too. And another great vocal performance by this guy. This guy, I think at this point, I'm thinking this guy is really strong. Like, he's as good a metal vocalist as I've heard. He doesn't have a lot of that cracking in his voice. He actually, for comparison reasons, and they don't sound anything alike. Like, it doesn't come to mind when I hear him singing that he sounds anything like Ronnie James Dio. The only thing about the two is they both have powerful, high range, can hold their vocal range very well. That's the comparison. That to me is how strong this guy's vocals are. Okay, so at this point I've done 4 tracks into the album, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a pretty metal album. Some progressive elements, I've said this already, but a pretty solid album, and I'm getting a moody feeling of it being a bit of a dark album at this point. I'm thinking it's a pretty dark album, but it is a metal album, I'm thinking, so it's supposed to be dark for the most part. That's what metal albums are. Okay, so then we get to the fifth track, which is called At Fate's Hand. This is where the whole thing changes and blows up on me. At this point, I'm still thinking all the things I said, but this is my favorite track on the album, and it's got this moody violin, and the riffing is really tight, and some excellent piano and acoustic guitar bits that support the violin really well. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this? The guy's vocal range is way off here, like really up there. And this is very different from the first 4 songs, in my opinion. Like, it's just, now I'm seeing why they think of these guys as a progressive band. This is a very progressive kind of song, and not actually a very strong metal sound to it. It's much more acoustic in its nature and just really different, and I liked it immediately. I wanted to play it over again, but I got to finish the album. So now I've taken a little bit of a turn here. Now before that I'm listening, but I'm just thinking metal and kind of just listening through it and saying it's not bad, but now all of a sudden now I'm paying 100% attention. It got my attention with this Fate's Hand. So then they go to the song called The Arena. Really okay. The Arena, which comes in, this is heavy solo opening, some heavy vocals, keeps it together, and I like the riff and the solo here. So it's a bit more of a metal song than, and I'm thinking, okay, so they do have some progressive elements, but they're probably still a bit more of a metal band. Then they go to and I like this song quite a bit. In fact, at this point in time, The Arena was probably my second favorite on the album. Then we get to Chasing Time. The violin is very moody and just fantastic on this song. You got some, it's got again another forlorn opening, like really moody and atmospheric. The vocal range is really like really good, and it's a darker vocal range. It's not so high, but he just handles it, even the darker part, really well. I like the guitars quite a bit here, and the harmonies that he uses. Just really strong track for me, adding to the kind of progressive element that I wanted to hear from these guys, and they delivered like beyond my expectations. Then the final track, Nothing Left to Say. The funny part is when he opened it up, he was playing this riff, really heavy riff, and I'm thinking, gee, that sounds like something you'd hear on Clockwork Angels. I'm saying, and then I started to go in this track where I was thinking, yeah, they might have been fans of Rush and maybe kind of took this. And then I realized, what am I talking about? This album is from 1989. That's long before Rush released Clockwork Angels. So if anything, Rush borrowed from them, not the other way around. And just like some really solid guitar riffing on that opening of that particular song. Nice, really detailed guitar solo on it as well. And the song is dark. It makes up the beat. Has this made up beat by, how do I say this? Yeah, it's just overall a dark song, and the vocalist really adds some strength to this song. Yeah, just a really good song. And all the songs on the second half of the album, I gave 7s and 8s. In the first half, everything was a 6. So there's nothing below a 6 on the album. Album is really good. Much better than I had anticipated. I was not closed-minded about it, but I wasn't really looking forward to doing it. I thought, it's going to be a metal album with a couple of keyboard solos or something in it, right? But it was nothing like that. It was just so much better than I had thought. So to me, these guys are definitely progressive with some metal elements. That's the way I'm looking at them now. They're progressive with some metal elements, or progressive metal with some more progressive, and then some really heavy metal. The album is very dark, but that's good. Like, it's not always good. Pink Floyd stuff is often dark too, and I enjoy that a lot as well. I think these guys. I'm just surprised I never actually heard anything from them before. It just surprises me, considering how good this is and how many people talk about them. You would think I would have heard something somewhere, but I guess I'm finding out there's a lot of stuff out there I just have never listened to, for whatever reason. I think for them, the thing that probably caused me not to listen to them was that they came out in 1989. By that time, I was far removed from metal, far removed from a lot of the stuff I listened to in the early 80s. I wasn't even really listening to any of the rhythm and blues that I'd been listening to in the middle 80s. At this point in time, I was listening to stuff, to be honest, from about 88 through to about 92. I was listening to a lot of I don't know what you would call it, some of Peter Gabriel's stuff, the later stuff, and some Paul Simon's Graceland and that kind of stuff. So I was kind of more of a, I guess you might call it a folky world music type person at that point in time. I didn't really know that's what I was till recently when I started thinking about that era, So it stands to reason why I wouldn't have heard this. But this is really good. So if you haven't listened to Fate's Warning before and you like progressive rock, please just give them a chance. You're going to like this. I like it quite a bit. So anyways, there you have it. Day 6, progressive rock albums from the 1980s. If you like this, please like and subscribe, and we'll be back tomorrow with yet another album from this genre. Bye.